Shout out to Nikki for sending me this article. It's about how spiders can fly using electricity. So it comes from The Atlantic. It was published July 5th, 2018. And the scientific term for spiders flying is ballooning, where they balloon from one location to another. And I thought this is a very interesting article. They go here discussing some of Charles Darwin's observations when he was on a boat off the Argentinian mainland in 1832, and he noticed that they had to have flown some kind of way onto the boat because they noticed all these webs on the boat, and they could see that they were jumping from one place to another on the boat itself. They know that spiders have no wings, but they're able to take to the air. And what seems to be happening is they can climb to an exposed point, raise their abdomens to the sky, extrude strands of silk, and float away. This behavior is called ballooning. It might carry spiders away from predators and competitors, or toward new land with abundant resources. But whatever the reason for it, it's clearly an effective means of travel. Spiders have been found 2.5 miles up in the air and 1,000 miles out to sea. It is commonly believed that ballooning works because the silk catches on the wind, dragging the spider with it. But that doesn't entirely make sense, especially since spiders only balloon during light winds. Spiders don't shoot silk from their abdomens, and it seems unlikely that such gentle breezes could be strong enough to yank the threads out, let alone to carry this large species aloft or to generate the high accelerations of arachnid takeoff. Darwin himself found the rapidity of the spider's flight to be quite unaccountable and its cause to be inexplicable. And I remember seeing a video of these spiders that were, I believe, in South America, and they were in the sky. And I guess from the vantage point of the video, it looked like they were much higher in the sky than they were. But I think they all connected their webs together, and they just looked like they were floating. But it was the web that was keeping them from falling, and they were catching their prey. They had these webs connected together, and they were all nestled within the webs, and they were catching mosquitoes and flies and other spiders and whatnot. So I thought that was interesting. So I have seen that happen before, at least on video anyway. And, those of you who live in an area where there are a lot of trees or, a lot of insects like I do, when I walk outside almost every morning, I walk right into a spider web. Sometimes it's a thin web that's just going, back and forth a couple times. Sometimes it's a full, thick web full of insects. And, it's so annoying. But I can see how, these organisms, these insects, they're so simple, but the complex, you would think that they're very simple, simple little, not insect, arachnid, but their work and their method of doing what they do is quite complex. So these two researchers, Erica Morley and Daniel Robert, they have an explanation for how this could be happening. The duo work at the University of Bristol and have shown in a study that spiders can sense the Earth's electric field and use that to launch themselves into the air. Every day, around 40,000 thunderstorms crackle around the world, collectively turning Earth's atmosphere into a giant electrical circuit. The upper reaches of the atmosphere have a positive charge, and the planet's surface has a negative charge. Even on sunny days with cloudless skies, the air carries a voltage of around 100 volts for every meter above the ground. In foggy or stormy conditions, that gradient might increase to tens of thousands of volts per meter. Ballooning spiders operate within this planetary electric field. When their silk leaves their bodies, it typically picks up a negative charge. This repels the similar negative charges on the surfaces on which the spiders sit, creating enough force to lift them into the air. And the spiders can increase those forces by climbing onto twigs, leaves, or blades of grass, because if the air is electrified, then organic material is also electrified too. So they kind of use themselves as like a, not a lightning rod, but they are able to manipulate the electromagnetic current that's in the air, because there is voltage. So with voltage, you have to have a current to direct the voltage. They also say here, plants, being earth, have the same negative charge as the ground that they grow upon, but they protrude into the positively charged air. This creates substantial electric fields between the air around them and the tips of their leaves and branches, and the spiders ballooning from those tips. This idea, flight by electrostatic repulsion, was first proposed in the early 1800s, around the time of Darwin's voyage. Peter Gorham, a physicist, resurrected the idea in 2013 and showed that it was mathematically plausible. And now Morley and Robert have tested it with actual spiders. First, they showed that spiders can detect electric fields. They put the arachnids on vertical strips of cardboard in the center of a plastic box, and then generated electric fields between the floor and ceiling of similar strengths to what the spiders would experience outdoors. These fields ruffled tiny sensory hairs on the spider's feet, known as trichobothria. It's like when you rub a balloon and hold it up to your hairs, Morley says. In response, the spiders performed a set of movements called tiptoeing. They stood on the ends of their legs and stuck their abdomens in the air. So this is a natural phenomenon that they're observing here. It says that behavior is only ever seen before ballooning. Many of the spiders actually managed to take off, despite being in closed boxes with no airflow within them. And when Morley turned off the electric fields, inside the boxes, the ballooning spiders dropped. It's especially important, says Angela Chuang from the University of Tennessee, to know that spiders can physically detect electrostatic changes in their surroundings. She says that's the foundation for lots of interesting research questions. How do various electric field strengths affect the physics of takeoff, flight, and landing? Do spiders use information on atmospheric conditions to make decisions about when to break down their webs or create new ones? They say here also, air currents might still play some role in ballooning. After all, the same hairs that allow spiders to sense electric fields can also help them to gauge wind speed or direction. And Moon Sung Cho from the Technical University of Berlin recently showed that spiders prepare for flight by raising their front legs into the wind, presumably to test how strong it is. Oh wow, I didn't know that. So it's a very, good article. I mean, they're coming down here. Oops, I skipped a part. They say here, still Morley and Roberts' study shows that electrostatic forces are on their own enough to propel spiders into the air. This is really top-notch science, says Gorham. As a physicist, it seemed very clear to me that electric fields played a central role, but I could only speculate on how the biology might support this. Morley and Robert have taken this to a level of certainty that far exceeds any expectations I had. I think Charles Darwin would be as thrilled to read it as I was, he adds. And it was written by Ed Young from The Atlantic. Once again, I want to thank Nikki for sending me the link to this article. As you know, most of these mainstream media sites have a science section or a technology section or biz tech. So I suggest people to check those sections out. There are other articles, as you saw, listed below within this article. And I also wanted to mention that, they're studying spiders taking flight. Maybe they could use this to reduce the number of flights that are crashing and planes that are pretty much being disintegrated while in mid-flight. Maybe they can use some of the techniques from nature as far as a spider to help improve upon the electromagnetic frequency and the electrostatic field that's required to have a plane lift in the air and stay in the air. But I don't know. You guys let me know what you think about this article or this video. I hope that you enjoyed this article. It wasn't too long. And I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day. It's Friday. Please stay safe. And I'll see you later.